All right, we'll take a look at other stories in the news as the National Judicial Council, NJC, has directed the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, to reverse the appointment of Theophilus Nzeuko as the acting chief judge of the state, citing a violation of the Nigerian constitution. The NJC, chaired by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Kudirat Kekere-Ekun, issued the directive at its 108th meeting, which began on Tuesday and ended on Wednesday in Abuja. Honorable Justice Kekere-Ekun Jikon, at its 108th meeting, also suspended 3 serving judicial officers without pay for 1 year for various acts of judicial misconduct. It also impaneled 9 committees to investigate pending complaints against 27 judicial officers for alleged acts of judicial misconduct. The judges in question include Honorable Justice Jane E. Yang, Court of Appeal, Uyo Division, for 1 year without pay, as the investigation committee found his lordship to have breached Rule 3, subsection 5 of the revised Code of Conduct for Judicial Officers. The council also suspended Honorable Justice Aminu Bafa Aliyu of the Federal High Court Zamfara Division for a period of 1 year without pay for judicial misconduct in breach of Rule 3, subsection 1 and 5 of the 2016 Code of Conduct for Judicial Officers. The council issued a warning letter to Honorable Justice Abimbola Awoboro of Federal High Court, Lagos Division, in a petition filed by one Kasali Aziz Olagoke and S. Hamza in suit between Chief Adesonya Musediku against Assistant General of Police Onikan Zone 2. Furthermore, sources close to Justice Jane Iyang, JCA, say she will appeal and ask for a review of the decision, as the petitioner had withdrawn the petition and believes justice will ultimately be served. All right, so developments happening in the judiciary. Rufai, your take on these disciplinary acts?
Okay, so we've always called that, we hardly see the hands of the NJC in things. Finally, we've seen the hands of the NJC. They've come in very hard on some of these judges. We would like to see more. We'll probably go through the nitty-gritty and see what is really the cause for all of this. But we'd like to see more of actions like this. I think it will still take our time. We'll take our time to be able to digest all of this in the coming days. But good one on the NJC, because we normally will always complain here that, they are not doing enough on the judges and all of that. When actions are being taken, we should also celebrate them. But we'd also like to see more. I would like to scrutinize all of this.
Okay, a number of issues. Number one is simply that, people have always complained about the judiciary. They complain more during the election season, where the people say that, the National Judicial Council has not been functioning and it's not been working. When Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun took over as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, one of the points that she made in her, early speech was that, look, she's going to focus on discipline within the judiciary. It seems to me that this latest statement by the National Judicial Council will indicate that she meant business when she said that. And, now people have been told that petitions have been received, and the National Judicial Council has acted on those petitions. Over 20 of those petitions, 29 of them, were rejected, but some of them, have been acted upon. And in the course of acting upon this, about 22 judicial officers have been placed on suspension. And certain key cases that have been out there in the public domain, have been isolated for public attention. For example, the appointment of the acting chief judge in Imo State. Now, Section 271, sub 4 of the 1999 Constitution is the relevant place here, namely that the State Judicial Commission can appoint, an acting chief judge. But now 2 issues have been raised. That it was the Justice of the Customary Court of Appeal who presided against the provisions of the Constitution. And that's why the Chief Justice of the Chief Judge of the Customary Court of Appeal in Imo State has been asked, why should disciplinary action not be taken against him? Justice Nzeuko, who was also appointed, the National Judicial Council is also raising questions. Now, at the federal level, Court of Appeal, there's the case of Justice Nyang in the Court of Appeal Uyo Division. Now, Justice Jenny Yang is being accused of having issued ex parte injunctions and all of that involving a petrol station, without following the normal judicial process. Okay. Then you have also the case of Justice Ekwo. Justice Ekwo is accused in the statement released by the National Judicial Council of not having heard the parties involved in a particular matter in line with the basic principle audi alteram partem. You must hear both sides to ensure fair hearing within the the rules, the orders of court, and what the Constitution says. And now we have been told Justice Inyang Okoro, has been suspended for 1 year, not to earn promotion for the next 5 years. Now, what people within the juridical space will ask is that, okay, while this is a demonstration of Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun living up to our words, and the National Judicial Council, standing up to defend the integrity of the judiciary, is it possible that some of the punishments that have been handed out are high-handed? Now, some, persons, some lawyers will say, well, what the rule says is, even if you are going to suspend salary, it's for just 6 months. So why 1 year? Why this high-handed Justice Okoro not to be promoted for complete 5 years and all that? However, I think the same judiciary that talks about the hierarchical system, the right of reply, the right to fair hearing, all these judges and justices that are involved in this disciplinary process, I think they deserve the right of appeal. And the NJC provides room for appeal. So the story is not ended yet. We're likely to see, people, the judges, the justices, going to appeal and say this is not, the real situation. So we would like to hear, when they go on appeal, to hear the other side of the story. So those who are likely to jubilate, to say, we have been saying it, and our judges are the problem and all that, they should just hold on. This is just the beginning of the process. But I think what we can hold on to is that Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, is living up to our words. That under our watch, discipline will be paid attention to, public petitions will be paid attention to, and maybe perhaps, no matter how this ends, this is a wake-up call for all the gentlemen sitting on the bench in Nigeria. And also perhaps, the bar will also take their cue to know that, there is a new sheriff in town who is going to insist on discipline in the judiciary.
Absolutely. There certainly is a new sheriff in town, and this is an important development in that it shows that the wheels of justice may grind slowly, but they grind surely. Meaning that this fight that people have been putting up to seek and to advocate for more independence, more transparency, more fairness within the judiciary is beginning to gain momentum. Now, what are some of the issues at hand? You have Justice Jane Yang, who is said to have been involved in almost something that looks like a corrupt dealing with a petrol station. You have Justice Inyang Ekwo, who, can you just imagine a court where a judge who will go ahead and make a ruling without hearing the parties involved? When you look closely at some of these cases, yes, of course, they will still appeal. But when you look at the circumstances, it's truly an indictment of some of the things that are happening within these courts, especially the Federal High Court. So this is important, that there is a precedent that is set, that we are saying no. And I hope it can go beyond the scope of what we are seeing now. Let us see it at all of the courts from the federal high courts, even within the state high courts as well, the Court of Appeals. Let us start to see these cases of judges being pulled out and singled out and being held accountable. It's extremely important for the transparency and accountability and, of course, the legitimacy of the judicial system. Now, I read a piece from I believe he's a human rights lawyer and activist called Chidi Odinkalu, who is saying that in his own estimation, he feels that, in fact, these punishments are a slap in the wrist. Because he's saying that how is it that these people are still potentially in the running to come back and serve in the Supreme Court? Well, those are debates for those who are, legally, intellectually minded. But I think it is important that these debates are happening and there's action that's following suit. So whether or not the punishments are too harsh or too lenient, I think it's important that a precedent has been set. At least let's see that people are being punished. And then from there, we can now gauge and see how we can clear out some of the rot that is now becoming evident and is now being proven.
Okay, I think when I was talking earlier, I mentioned Justice Okoro, Inyang Okoro. Okay, my apologies. It's not Justice Inyang Okoro, it's Justice Inyang Ekwo. But they both bear, Inyang. Yeah, Milot, my apologies. It's Justice Inyang Ekwo that was mentioned in the statement by the National Judicial Council.
Okay, now on to Kano State, where the 15th Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, has called on parents to ensure that they enroll their children for formal education. The Emir made the call at an Islamic public function where he urged parents to take the education of their children seriously. Arise correspondent Ayo Adenaye reports.
The 15th Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, is a special guest of honor at the graduation ceremony of some Islamic students who have successfully read and completed the Holy Quran. The Emir arrived at the premise of Aminu Babada Agundi, which serves as the venue of the graduation, in company of a mammoth crowd who continue to chant his praise. One after the other, the graduating students received the Holy Quran from the Emir as a mark of completion. Emir Aminu Bayero, while addressing the graduating students, charged them to be good ambassadors of the state.
I want to charge to be respectful to your parents, to your teachers, to those who are older than you, and be respectful to your leaders.
The Emir also used the opportunity to remind parents not to only focus on Islamic education for their children, but to also enroll them for formal education.
Continue to seek for both Islamic and formal education so that you can truly be the leader of tomorrow. Through this, you can be useful to yourself and to the nation.
The 72 graduating students were also given a cash prize of 10,000 naira each. Ayo Adenaye, Arise News Camera.